Welcome back to the channel. This is the Volkswagen ID.5, which is a coupe version of the ID.4. It's got a spoiler on the back, it's got a lower sloping roof line, and you sit lower down in the car. It feels that way anyway. And I like these alloys. They're 20-inch. It feels like there's just a bit more profile on the tyres versus the 21s. Well, there would be, wouldn't there? So it's a little bit more comfortable. Now, the car starts from €55,000 and this one is a GTX, but from the point of view of the car's design and the interior, everything is the same. But if you did want a GTX version of it, which is 300 brake horsepower and dual motored, then you'd need over €70,000. But let's not even go there, okay? So the front of the car has a gorgeous face on it with a LED daytime running strip across the front. GTX version has slightly different fog lights down here also. King's Red is this colour, in case you are wondering. Alloys do look a little bit different to what you've probably seen on the ID.4 up till now. Two-tone colour roof, so against the King's Red with the black, it's nice. Slopes then into the boot, which is complete with a nice, I wouldn't say subtle, it's a big enough spoiler. Lighting strip continues in the back also. Your release for the electric tailgate is here, 549 litres. That is the boot size. Couple of interesting things. If you want a 170-ish brake horsepower version of the car, that's a little bit cheaper. So you've got Max and you've got Pro and you've got Business. The higher spec ID.5 standard car.
Address saved yet. Please enter this in the infotainment system.
It says 95% of the time the voice recognition works. I haven't even asked it to do anything and it's already kicking off. Anyway, so different versions of the car. This version, the GTX, gets a heat pump as standard, and the top of the range ID.5 without the GTX also gets a heat pump as standard. Maybe something for you to consider. There is space down here for your Type 2 cable. Interestingly enough, this car will also do 11 kilowatt charging, should you find a charge like that. There's space below here, and then there's further space down here for extra stuff to be hidden. And you've got little side pockets, and it is a pretty good boot, to be fair, but very comparable to the ID.4, and the glass will obviously slope down a little bit differently on this version of it, and not at all straight down like the Enyaq. I hope it hasn't gone noticed, by the way, that my runners match the outside of this car, you know, attention to the detail and all that stuff. So there's a good bit of leg room back here. Obviously you can raise these seats up off the floor, which will give you more foot room. There's an armrest. It still slopes at a slightly weird angle. There's access to the boot. This glass roof offers lots and lots of light into the car, and a lot of manufacturers now are giving you glass that's darkened, but you don't get a shade. That is not the case in the ID.5 because there is a blind that you can use to cover your head if it is just a little bit too bright. USB charging down here in the back, and your own climate control also adds to the creature comforts in the back of the ID.5 for rear passengers. Nice little red touch on the steering wheel if you are going for the GTX, but actually inside many other parts it really is very, very similar. The screen is the same, armrest is the same, wireless charging and slidey bits that will help you use bigger and larger bottles, and down here is the same. You can pinch that and take it out and clean it if things get messy. Air vents are the same. And the version with 3.1 software, which this car doesn't have, will give you faster charging, 135 kilowatt charging. It'll give you swarm data. It'll do auto assist for changing lanes. And it's got some nice little features built into it. But these cars don't have it yet. Now, when I test drove this car back in, I think it was May in Austria, those cars did have the newer version of the software. Energy consumption in the newer versions was like 12 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is really, really good. Now, I was in a taxi at the weekend, and that was an ID.4, and that had 13 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers on the screen, but he had all the aircon and everything off, so it was kind of stuffy, not very comfortable, but it can be done. Range in the GTX version is, they say 470. This was fully charged at 400, and energy usage somewhere between the 20s and the 30s kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But certainly the ID.5 single motor 204 brake horsepower version, economy wise, does seem to be a little bit better in 3.1, and you get over the air updates in this. And to be honest with you, with the delays on cars, By the time you get your ID.5, you're thinking about it, I'm sure it will have 3.1. It might even have 3.2. Who knows? Like these seats, they hug you, plenty of bolster action going on in them. And you do feel a little bit lower down inside the car. The faster speeds you can get to charge this car means if you use something like Ionity, somewhere between 29 and 36 minutes is where you'll get to 80% from a 5% state of charge. So it's definitely getting faster. The problem is trying to find the chargers that catch up with that. It's kind of white, like, cancel. Thank you. I think we're done. It's so quiet, and the doors, when you close them, there's still such a large thud. It feels very solid. It does feel heavy in good and bad ways, I suppose. Steering certainly feels very, very planted. There is a nice weight to it. And I'm trying to compare what other electric cars are like in the ID.5, ID.4. In some ways they're kind of out on their own. Like, they're very, very planted. They do feel very premium in that way for sure. The GTX version will do 300 brake horsepower if it's above 80% battery, if it's over 22 degrees Celsius, the battery temperature that is. So there's a few variables that you need to get right before you have that full power, and it's for a maximum of 30 seconds or something like that. So well, there's a couple of things you need to get right, and it's another reminder why, you know, maybe when you floor it, you do notice a huge difference between this and the 204 brake horsepower version of the car. Straight away you'll notice the difference. It just kind of takes off and you feel that extra motor pushing you along. But I suppose the main thing is, how often is that going to be of use to you? As I often say, augmented reality head-up display, do like it. It's really great for blind spot, nav. There's really no excuse for ever missing anything again, and yeah, it just works. I like it. It's an optional extra. It's over €1,000. It's expensive. May not be for you at all, but it's nice to know it's there. But if you like and want your electric car to feel solid and planted, more premium in those senses maybe than how the interior looks, the exterior also looks very, very premium. And in this King's Red colour, it's lovely. I've yet to drive an ID, I don't think even an ID.3 with smaller wheels, because I'd like to see what difference that makes, not just in terms of range, but just in terms of comfort. If you're on a nice smooth road, it's very, very nice.
One moment, please.
Shut up! Seriously! Cancel! I don't think I'm even giving any trigger words to this thing for it to make. I know. Sorry. It is interesting though, with warmer temperatures, even this more powerful.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should be. You keep interrupting my review. Cancel. As I was saying, warmer weather. This more potent version of the car still has 400 kilometers listed, and that's what many, many people drive in this car. So would I be confident you get the 470 as they claim? Probably not that high, but certainly over 400 kilometers should be very, very achievable. And coming soon to the channel, I will have the Skoda Enyaq version of this car, the dual motored version of it. So it'll be interesting just to compare the two, see are there any massive similarities, or, you know, does the Enyaq actually provide a more economical car to drive. Oh look, it's another red light. Will the voice activation come on as I head back to Sandyford now to have a little look? Oh god. Listen, if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, by the way, it would be a great time for you to do it. Like right now, that little thing down the bottom, just hit it, hit subscribe. You'll make me very, very happy. I know this face doesn't look it, but I'll be very, very happy. Even happier if all the red lights and the voice control would stop coming on. Let me just try it again. Hey ID.
Pardon?
I'm too hot.
Sure, it will get cooler at the front right shortly.
Oh yeah, I like the way it has an eco option for that passenger seat. There's nobody in it. Not about wasting energy, making an invisible person cooler. Those mirrors are huge as well. Could potentially have something in your blind spot there that you can't see. So there's definitely a few little niggles in 3.0. 3.1, I'm not sure why it's taking so long. It definitely feels like the better software update. And the quicker you can get that over the air, the better for all of us. I think life with an ID will get less frustrating, because I'm really doing nothing to try and trigger that voice control. Am I? Nothing to say for yourself now, huh? This has been the ID.5 driving experience. I hope you've got something from it, apart from the fact that the voice control likes to come on a lot. And I wouldn't go over bumps too hard.
Please
either.
wait a moment. Sorry.
Review terminated.
You can use voice control to operate the radio and media, navigation system, telephone and air conditioning. For example, say, drive to London or call John Smith work.
I don't know a John Smith, and I don't want to drive to London because there's a big sea between you and I.
Pausing voice control.
Best thing I've heard all day. Same car to drive, in general the same output, and you'd have to wonder really who's going to buy an ID.5 over the really successful and does exactly what it kind of says in the tin ID.4. It does look better, fine, but because the interior and how it drives, the performance are all very, very similar, you'd want to really be caught up in the looks to go, yeah, I think I'll go for an ID.5 over the 4. And that says a lot about the ID.4, to be honest with you. Great looking car, it's just its very close related cousin might just do a really good job as it is. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.